we enjoy listening to our patients as we work towards an accurate diagnosis and then customize a treatment plan that meets our patients' goals.
We understand that a patient with knee pain is here not just because of their medical diagnosis, but because the diagnosis is preventing them from doing what they love, whether it be playing competitive sports, walking their dog, or playing with their grandchildren. We aim to return them to the lifestyle they desire as quickly as possible.
It may not be today that you need us, but we want you to know that we are here when you do.
Thank you, Legacy Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for bringing us this Roughnecks Rewind. Welcome, everybody, for tuning in. I'm Emi Fitzgerald, and we are here with Griffin Miller of the Roughnecks and our special guest, Matt Smith of the Atlanta Hustle. Hey, guys. Griffin, we'll start with you first, just as you're taking a swig of your beverage there. How are you? How is life at home and all of the things? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been crazy. Obviously, I work at a school in the area, high school, Jesuit, Dallas. And so moving everything online and kind of trying to make sure that our students are being as safe as possible has been a big task as a webmaster. But it's been fun. I've been doing well, trying to stay ready for the season. And looking forward to this. This has been on my calendar for a little while now, and this is going to be a lot of fun.
It really is. It's going to be a great conversation. And kudos to you and just all of the educators out there, I'm just going to say, who are watching, who really had to turn on a dime and figure out distance learning, e-learning, and then the parents at home kind of trying to figure it out, get all the devices that you need. So my hat goes off. My headphones go off to you. So Matt, how are you doing? Where are you? How is life in the time of COVID for you?
All things considered, I'm in a very fortunate and happy place. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia with my wife and our two dogs. Work has certainly slowed down. A lot of what I do involves youth and ultimate, and obviously we're not meeting in big groups or anything like that. But really, I've got a park to walk to. I've got a throwing partner in my wife, who's an excellent thrower. So I really can't complain, all things considered. And this was on my calendar for a little while. Happy to be on the show. And yeah, let's talk some ultimate and have a good time.
Absolutely. And also I'm so glad that you said your throwing partner is in your wife and not what not everybody, but the rest of the world expects that you would have said one of your dogs. So glad we're talking about people throwing to each other. But let's kind of set the stage for this game last year. So it was June 29th, I believe, and Atlanta gets to Austin. We're at John Paul II High School, and the weather hits. Griffin, we'll kind of start with you. What was sort of going through your mind as the weather delays are going, but people are still starting to come to the venue? What were you thinking?
Yeah, it was crazy. As soon as the weather delays started stacking on top of each other was when it really got difficult. Because at first it's just like, oh, it's half an hour. There's a lightning, within a 5-mile radius or whatever the AUDL's requirements are. And so we just kind of try staying locked in for the game, trying to figure out we're going to have a shortened warm-up period, but we're still going to make sure that we have enough time to get ready. But then as it keeps stacking on top, you can only keep dialed in and keep trying to keep yourself warm for so long before you kind of get a little stir crazy in a little gym together, especially as I had family visiting. I had people coming in town for this game. It was really exciting. But at the same time, now everyone's waiting for upwards of an hour for a game to start. It was the same weekend as Texas Two Finger as well, I think. So a lot of my friends were playing at the local club tournament in the area. Were really tired already. They were going to come out to come watch, and then it just kind of started stacking on top of each other, which made it frustrating. But all things considered, we made a unfortunate situation into a bright spot. And had a lot of fun and played a great game. I mean, it was tons of fun, highly contested.
Absolutely. Matt, so you all were traveling in. It didn't seem like, I remember playing Texas Two Finger that day, and I think it was really windy, but I don't think there was a lot of weather. So did you all make it into town all right? And you're like really pumped up, and then how do you kind of keep that mental focus as you're coming in, visiting weekend, which is already very grueling, and then you've got these big weather delays?
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's played in the AUDL knows that this stuff happens. We've been delayed at Raleigh a bunch of times. So honestly, as the visiting team, I think it was kind of to our advantage. One, it was going to be cooler than it normally is in Dallas, which is a blessing. Those games are usually scorchers, and this game was probably the coolest game I think we've ever played in terms of temperature. And then also, I think traveling teams often have less distractions. Like, we ain't got nowhere to be, we don't have family at the games. We don't have, it's just whether we get in the car at 10:30 or 11:30 or whatever, you obviously want to be rested the next day. But we just tried to turn it into a positive, and Griffin did a great job making it a positive with the Hope Kids experience was awesome. The teams got into some friendly other sports. So yeah, honestly for us, it was overall a positive thing. Obviously it's better to just show up and play, but all things considered, it was relatively easy for us, I think, to just roll with the punches that is playing in the AUDL.
Definitely. So you kind of mentioned Griffin making the most of the situation. So I remember being in the high school gym and Griffin runs over, and we had a lot of kids, which is the experiences to children and their families of children who are living with various chronic diseases and illnesses. So they are a big part of the Roughnecks, and Griffin had this amazing idea and then both teams got really involved. And we actually have a little video about it and about Hope Kids that we wanted to show. So take a look.
What we're doing right now, the Roughnecks and the Atlanta Hustle are having a little miniature Hope Kids clinic. And it just came together because we're in a rain delay, might as well. And this has just turned out to be amazing. We got so many Hope Kids already here. We got both teams playing together, having fun. I'm throwing with Matt Smith. This is just phenomenal.
The Roughnecks partnership with Hope Kids is one of those things that I couldn't tell you a lot about a lot of games during the regular season, but I do have vivid memories of me waiting in line to go grab the hand of a young kid and go running out onto the field with them and giving the line of kids a high five before the game, and they're all kind of like, yeah, let's go, let's get ready. And their parents and everybody is just ecstatic, and just to give them a smile and just see joy on their faces, right, is just really cool. And I think the Roughnecks, along with other organizations too, but just us being part of the Roughnecks, we saw it firsthand. It was just a really cool thing to be a part of.
That was awesome.
So
I'm just going to continue on that if that's okay. Shout outs to Hope Kids. We love our partnership with them. North Texas chapter just turned 7 on Thursday, and we had a party, a Zoom party with a lot of the Hope Kids and a lot of the organizers. So super shout outs to them. Jess Glenn does a whole lot with me to get us in a lot of these organizations and opportunities to get with these kids. It's just a huge, great experience. That was again, huge shout out to the Hustles and the organization over there, Coach Knowles, for allowing us to do that with you guys, because I know it's difficult to get locked in, but that was one of the highlights of my entire season last year. Just how we knew these kids were coming. We knew a lot of them maybe can't stay the whole game anyway for a lot of different reasons. And this is the moments they really love are those one-on-ones, running onto the field and getting to meet the players. And so getting to have that very impromptu, quick moment was the highlight of the season.
It was so
absolutely.
special. And that was before the game even started. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just going to say that I really appreciated that opportunity. I think the people who do a lot of work in that sector understand that what we're doing on the field is in fact pretty silly and not all that important. And what we do I think off the field is a lot more fulfilling. So no, it was a great opportunity. I appreciated y'all putting it together, and our part was easy. You know, we just threw with some kids and tried to put a smile on their face, and it ended up working out really well.
So awesome. Well, thank you both. And that's, so much happened, and then we still had a game to play. So we are going to talk, though, a lot more about how y'all are involved in the youth and ultimate outreach off of the field. So there's definitely more to come. But let's roll the game and get right to it. Also, Texas storms. Look at that sunset. Holy cow. That is awesome.
It's just weird.
It's beautiful.
Having the start
cool.
of yeah, it's cool. That's what that Matt touched on it earlier. But it's so weird starting a game and it already being this dark. And it was so much cooler than we're used to. But it was actually windier than a lot of people will see in this game, just because, or in the footage, because a storm just came through, a lot of high winds. It was really gusty, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the gusts scare me the most, because it seems calm. It seems like it's going to be okay, and then you let something go, or, right when you're about to release it, you feel a heavy upwind or something like that. I'm actually amazed that the game, that games aren't sloppier with the wind. Our throwers both sides of this are pretty incredible, honestly.
Well, again, we're going to see this a lot. I don't have to worry about it as much because I'm a true cutter on D-line, so I really don't have to worry. My job is just to give it back to the other throwers. But for you being someone on O-line, I can only imagine the extra stress that you have to deal with traveling to Dallas because we have bad wind, especially back at the Colony. It was really bad.
Yeah, I have nightmares of watching that Dallas, North Carolina game, I want to say it was. The Flyers game, and everyone had 15 turnovers on the O-line, and it was terrible.
That game was so windy. I had to go underneath the table of wherever we were doing the live stream just to try and block the wind so much from the microphone because it was just bananas.
There's another game.
I know y'all normally have that huge tower, or you used to at the Colony, and I was like, I wouldn't get up in that wind. It's coming down.
Yeah, it was strong, but I was bracing for an earthquake drill kind of thing underneath there.
I didn't even see what happened. It looked like somebody misfired on a huck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a miscommunication on a deep look, and then Carson shot it. I don't remember who was going deep, but then they were coming under as it was released.
Oh.
So close.
Jay's a beast, man. Jay's a beast.
Jay just finds ways to get open. It's crazy. The amount of times that he closes gaps or opens gaps is just crazy to me. And the fact is that you can't. It's hard to overthrow him already, but then if you do underthrow him and it floats, then he gets huge in the air. And he'll be the first to tell you is he doesn't go to the weight room. He just does fun activities like rock climbing, and that's his training for the year.
Yeah, I believe it. He told me after that D that he touched it, but I don't believe him. Jay was also my roommate at the All-Star game this past season.
Oh no!
Right.
Yeah. He didn't spend a ton of time in the room, especially that second night. But it was fun. It was fun to hang out a little bit and get to know him a little bit off the, kind of off the field because my only other context for knowing him is just playing him in AUDL games. So.
Right.
So make sure that if you're watching, we have a few comments going already, but let us know where you're watching from. I saw Mama Walker made a comment. Hi, Kim. I know, she's just amazing. But yes, comment, let us know where you're tuning in from. If you have any questions for Matt and for Griffin. And these are also our Twitter handles as well. So you can hit us up on Twitter if you have some questions there. And look at that.
Doesn't work.
That probably wasn't the shot we wanted.
Well, not to throw spoilers out there, but we're about to see one of my favorite players on the hustle that isn't you, Eli Jaime, D3 repping over here. He and I played each other a whole bunch in college. And he's about to just make a monster layout on Dan Emmons, which doesn't happen very often. Usually it's the other way around. And I remember being like, okay, that was a hard-fought defensive point. Now D-line is going to start working it up. We're going to open with the break after this. The whole idea was we were hoping to really get momentum early in this game, right? As the home team, starting so late, knowing you guys had to travel again, and then that happens. And the worst part as a defender is now Eli was just running the other way, just booking it, and he's so good at that. As soon as he gets it, he immediately starts running the other way and just gets wide open right here.
Eli's a beast, man. I think he really, the numbers in the play speak for themselves. We knew he was good coming in, taking him from Nashville, but I don't think anyone saw him scoring 60 goals or whatever he did this year. And someone finally dethroned me for plus minus on the hustle, but he's a good kid to take it, and I hope he sticks around. I hope we get to have a few more seasons with him because he's a beast.
He's a monster, and he's such a nice guy as well. Again, I have nothing but respect for the whole Atlanta team. So many of the personalities. Again, going to school in Mobile, Alabama, watching a lot of the at Spring Hill College, watching all the and whatnot. I know a lot of these players, and I know this team pretty well, especially as a competitor. Maybe it gives me an edge, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But that means I know a lot of these guys. Again, I have my own hustle jersey in my closet, courtesy of Carter Ray, another D3 guy. And you guys have 3 or 4 D3 guys on this team, which makes me happy.
Represent.
Gotta represent.
Yeah, man.
I'm the only one on the Roughnecks.
Yeah, that's actually something I meant to talk to you about that we've never had a chance to really discuss, but is what your experience is coming from a D3 environment and then into a team that is pretty well established with these D1 stars and probably pretty in tune with the elite ultimate community. What was that like for you being not from that environment?
So for me, it wasn't that much of a change. A lot of people struggle. I would assume a lot of people struggle with the idea of going from being the guy to being someone else who's just a role player on a team like this. But people that know me will know that ego is not one of my strong suits or is a weak point or something. I'm very happy to put myself aside for the team. So I was really easily transitioned into this role of being a role player, what I like to think of as a solid defender, taking on some of the tougher matchups, using my strengths. But I will say the biggest difference was just the overall level of play. That I'm not going to win my matchup every time that I get the opportunity to. Now I have to go, rather than covering, Eli one game and then moving to someone else that has been throwing a frisbee for a year. Now every single person I'm going against is going to be a monster who can rip huge backhand full field hucks like Draco does here on a plate. So that was the biggest struggle for me, was that transition to every point needs to be 110% if you're going to actually win it, rather than what I was playing at Spring Hill. I could play a 50% point and then still somehow dominate. God, this throw by Draco is just insane.
So sweet.
That's a
just
dime
on a
ball.
platter. Yeah, and like Gabe is a fast guy, and I know Will Lindquist is as well. But like the way that that disc was placed, there's no way that Gabe has a play on that.
No chance.
Not at all.
Yeah. No, shout out. I
And he
mean,
has-
honestly, Austin he's an incredible hucker. He is one of the most consistent deep throwers that I've, really ever played with. It's crazy. His discs like don't turn over. Like that
They
edge
don't.
is always exactly where it should be. Sometimes it goes long, like because he just has a cannon, but it's never just like a inconsistent bad throw from him.
Right.
Okay, we just had a turnover. Luke, I believe you put up a trivia question. Do you want to put that back up? Okay, so who from Dallas will lead in throwaways this game? Matt, first you give who you think it might be. Griffin, you give who you might think it might be.
I mean, it's got to be Dylan Larberg, right? Is he not playing at this? I mean, it's his job to shoot, and in a windy game, like I don't know. I assume that almost seems too obvious for a trivia question, but that's my guess.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a really solid guess. I mean, that was going to be my knee-jerk reaction. Dylan, we love you, but I mean, you've led the team in turnovers the past 2 years for a reason. But just for the sake of being different, I'll go with an O-line guy. I'll say Carson Wilder.
Okay.
That's my guess. No idea if it's right or not, but we'll see.
Weigh
Yeah, I
in
guess
the
time
chat
will
who you think. Exactly. Time will tell. We will reveal that later in the game.
It might have been Muffin a few years ago. Shout out Muffin. I don't know if he's watching.
Shout out
So Muffin and I played together. Actually, we are former teammates. We played together that first year in Rhode Island. He was like one of the captains
way.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a pretty good thing going. I wouldn't say we knew each other real well. Jesus, Eli.
Yeah. Oof.
He and I would play handler defense actually back in my D-line days, and we would play handler defense. And basically, whenever there was a turn, it was real simple. Like my job was just to bust deep, and he would just pick it up and launch it. And like we had a really good like symbiotic relationship there. He's a hell of a player, so I was happy to see him resurrect himself in the AUDL and get to play him and compete and see him. And I know he recently had a kid, so just happy to see former AUDL buddies like that succeed.
Mhm. Oh, I'm sure you were a dream for Muffin to play on the same team with, between your speed and his shooter's gotta shoot always.
Yeah, especially in the backfield. Like I wasn't very well known at the time, but I was still pretty fast, and like it was always on some like lazy handler, and I would eat it up. And as soon as there was a turn, it was just to the house. And he put a lot of really nice dimes up. So I owe him. I definitely owe him a few goals from the early part of my career.
So, Matt, I want to ask you specifically, Atlanta is known for this zone, and I know it's practiced a whole lot. Coach Knowles is phenomenal with it, and it's so well run, and it just takes so much time off the clock and just makes everyone work it. What is that like, being an O-line player, having to play against the zone in practice very often?
I mean, playing against the zone in practice, I honestly love playing against zone defenses. I always dream about I wish there was some sort of video game where you could just get reps against a zone defense, because it's a lot of fun. So yeah, playing against it in practice is fun. Playing in it is it's a fun defense to be a part of. I will say on the team, I don't think this is any team secrets, but we have like a love-hate relationship with it, because most zones, right? Like we give up a lot of throws, and like when you beat a zone, if you beat it easily, it's really demoralizing. And so many times it just feels like teams are walking through it, and like right when we're, the players are like, oh, just let us play person D, like just let us lock down. And like somebody will the other team will throw just some stupid turnover like right to us, and we're just like, well, I guess we got to keep running this. But yeah, I don't know. I love playing against zones. I think it's fun. I think it's valuable for what we do. So we obviously do it a lot. I just think it's funny that whenever we doubt it, like whenever we start to get upset, somebody will just do something silly and just give us the disc. So stop doing that, Dallas, so we don't have to run this anymore.
Like if I played O-line, we would never turn it over. That's just the Griffin Miller guarantee.
Right. Of course.
But since, I'm so valuable elsewhere, obviously as, I was just the next option for an AUDL All-Star, but not really. But no. I just know that that was Dan. There were 3 or 4 times this season that Dan gets huge and smacks it, but then the wind comes and just picks it right back up and then somehow gets caught. And to me, we laughed about how it's demoralizing when a zone gets cut through really easily. It was super demoralizing to be like, we locked down for so long, we got the D, and then, oh, just kidding, we didn't get the D, and now they're on the goal line. Well, that's fun.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm not loving being on D right now, running with the Ward kid.
With Suds, he's so quick as well. I can imagine that you two have fun on each other there.
Yeah, no, he's a good player, real fast. But yeah, I'm not loving it right now.
So going into this game plan, I know that you can go, Emi.
Go ahead, Griff. No, you go.
I was going to say, going into this game, we specifically put Suds and myself on you because we felt very comfortable with our quickness on you, but also speed. If you were to open up the field, that maybe we could try tracking it down. And very quickly, we both realized that Suds was a lot better on the quick movement with you, and that as long as he was on you, he was just going to keep trying to maybe force you into more handler, like quicker movements. While I was on you, I'm trying to make sure you don't do that because I am not as quick, and I was just coming back from an ankle injury, so I was really not as quick. And so you'll watch, if anyone at home wants to try watching like the different styles that we're playing on Matt, between myself and Suds, and how we're giving him certain things to try taking away others to kind of play to our strengths. It's a kind of fun dynamic throughout the whole game, as we both play very different styles of defense.
Yeah, I know. I'm always matched up against you guys. I really don't like when Griffin guards me, but there are numerous times now where you've closed the gap on me for sure when that field opens up. It's no secret. I'm not slow, but I'm quicker than I am fast. So I like to be quick, and then a guy like Suds, I'm at least trying to take him deep. Like, I don't know. I like my deep against anybody my size and under. I'm willing to put that up there. So, but yeah, I know. I noticed it. I've noticed you closing on me several times, and I don't love it.
Several times is an exaggeration, but I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know if you remember this because I believe you got severely concussed.
Yes.
But down in Mobile, actually, when we played once, pretty early on, and someone hucked it. You went ahead, and someone hucked it, and we were like just on a beeline, and like, I mean, I'll be honest, that was not a high quality tournament. I was not expecting there to be a lot of speed on the field. I think I sort of knew who you were at the time, but I didn't really know. I didn't know that you were faster than me. So we got in a dead heat sprint, and you closed a bunch of space, and I was like, oh crap. And but I got to the disc a split second before you did. You threw this huge layout, shoulder high, and just missed it. And then you just, I don't know what happened, to be honest. You hit the ground and were just wrecked. I felt so bad. I always remember that. I felt so bad. And I was just man, but that kid was super fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that maybe not as vividly as as you do, but no, I remember that very specifically because you're good friends with Greg Harris, who's in Mobile, because you both played Birmingham together. And on my Spring Hill team was Jordan Quinn, who played Ironman with you as well for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I was very familiar with you. You were not familiar with me, and that's okay. No one was familiar with me. No one really is still familiar with me. But the moral of the story is Jordan was telling me, he's okay, so there's Matt. And I was okay, I've watched him on Atlanta. I know he's super fast. I want to see how fast he is, if I can keep up with him at all. And so I remember being I'm going to give him break side deep in hopes that someone throws it. And just like that, because we were on the far open side. And so and right when the disc gets tapped in, you just take off. And I'm trying to close, I'm closing. And I remember laying out. And then I remember being on the ground and someone telling me I'm bleeding a lot from my forehead. And a doctor diagnosed it as a severe concussion. Yeah, that was really fun. Apparently headbutting rocks is not the best idea. So yeah, I made this layout, and apparently my head was the first thing to hit the ground. And I just remember waking up and someone being oh, there's so much blood and water being poured on my head. So that was really fun. But I do remember that.
Wow.
It haunts me to this day because in my memory, I got a hand on the disc, but you still caught it. But
that's entirely possible.
I'm going to keep telling myself that I did, because that means that the layout was a lot cooler than it actually probably was. It probably was one of those flailing monkeys that you shoot across the room. But I remember getting a hand on it and being okay, but at least I got the D. And they're oh, but yeah, you didn't, and you have a concussion, so you can't play the rest of the weekend. And I was well, that's really cool. And so, yeah.
So, Matt, is this the Battleship tournament that you sent us a picture?
Yes, this is the Battleship tournament. Shout out Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, Alabama. Shout outs to it. They host this every year. It's a lot of fun.
It's a pretty cool picture. There it is.
Hey.
That's the South Alabama team. Look at those guys. I miss a lot of those people. We used to play every Tuesday.
So I bet you know a bunch of them. I didn't know any of them, to be honest. But I know Greg.
There's a lot of good
the man. So
Greg's the man. You got Colin Wood there. You got Leah.
Caleb.
Yes, you got Caleb Dickey. You got a whole lot of crew. The whole crew is there. But yeah, that was where, that was the other end zone. That's not where you're going to see me curled up on the floor or anything like that. But that's the field site. And you can tell it may not be the best field, but the spirits were high, and the love of the game was definitely there.
Absolutely. This is actually it's probably top 3 favorite tournaments for me. That one specifically, because the first year, the year that you got your concussion, because I believe you were in a cape. I think we were all dressed up or something silly. But our team was supposed to be good at that tournament. Greg told me, he was oh yeah, we got these club players. It'll be, we got there and these players were oh man, we're awesome. We're gonna destroy these teams. And I was okay, whatever. I'm just here to visit Greg and have a good time. And we won one game. We won the last game on Sunday. We were terrible. It was like, honestly, one of the worst tournaments I've been a part of. And the next year, Greg was like, I don't even know if I should ask you, man. And I was like, no, we're gonna redeem it. Like, I'm not gonna go out on just a terrible time like that. And yeah, we went with the South Alabama team, and it was just like a miracle come together. Like, everyone bought in, everyone decided to play their role. Like, not everyone was super experienced, but like everybody just played their role. You know what I mean? Like, the people who weren't experienced, like, they played great defense, they ran hard, they were good teammates, and like, we won the tournament out of nowhere the second year we went. So it honestly holds a pretty special place in my heart for Ultimate. So shout out Battlefield Tournament, or whatever it's called, Mobile, Alabama. It was a great time.
Yeah, well, it's really fun to me because like Mobile doesn't have like an established like club scene. They have a club team that's been around for the past 2 years called Battleship, mainly because there's a giant battleship in Mobile, Alabama, in case you didn't know that. So that club scene is very new there, but they have a very dedicated pickup crew and summer league and spring league, and the people that are there are just awesome. I mean, I learned a lot from them. Every Tuesday night, we'd go to South Alabama's intramural fields, and I'd learn from Stephen Fick, who is 6'3" and has just about every throw and doesn't like going deep, so it's really funny playing with him. Like, just lots of fun. That community is really, really inclusive and really welcoming. And so the Battleship tournament itself is just the epitome of that like inclusive like community.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about that tournament and not this sloppy point until Will saves us.
Showing that they are just spreading out the field as
Definitely the bright spot.
the offensive opportunities. And
there's Eli Jaime again.
Either if you're playing defense against that, either you're going to be running some really
He's so
long
good.
cut defenses. They're going to be running.
I always tell young like goal scorers on the hustle that I'm like, yo, if you want to score a lot of goals, like, you also have to get the easy ones. You know what I mean? Like, there are the hard ones that you earn when you have to, like, you know, someone like Griffin just paid like all over you and you have to really earn them. And then there are the ones like that where it's just a matter of effort and like focus and running it down. And that is something that Eli has really taken to heart. And I know this because every time I look up to go get one of those goals, he's already there. Which is fantastic. I'm glad someone like finally listened to me and is destroying the goal scoring game right now.
Totally.
So once again, like, I remember him from while he was at UAB, while they were still a D3 school. And I think my senior year, he was still a sophomore. And so he was covering me. And again, like I mentioned earlier, like, there were certain games that I could kind of take off and not have to worry about or have to really try hard during. But then every time UAB came up and I saw he was lined up with me, it's like the old video of LeBron watching Kawhi Leonard sub in the finals and kind of being like, dang, like, I actually have to try now. Eli would come in and it was just made my job so much harder trying to be like the guy on a Spring Hill team, knowing that he didn't have to be the guy on the UAH team, and then he would still just like almost make it a 6-on-6 game.
Yeah, no, he's good, man. He's also like not he's hard to shake, hard to rattle. You know, you can't try the other tactics that maybe you could off the field, maybe try and rattle him a little bit. He's pretty focused.
Right. So the big thing for me is you know this more than others, by the way. Suds just gets roasted here. I love you, Suds. I know you're watching, but I don't know what you thought there.
I'm telling you, Draco's just, I told you, anytime Draco's got the disc, I'm going, man. Like, he does that all the time.
Well, so, I mean, you'll notice that the one highlight I think of my 2-year career covering you was from a Draco throw. And I saw him getting it. I saw that cut happening. It was just like, I know where this is going now. You were already 2 steps beating me deep. And I was like, I'm about to this is going to be a poster one way or the other. And I just, knowing Draco's trust for you, and watch after this game specifically, watching like Austin just hone in all of these hucks just in perfect. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do here. I just have to commit.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that other layout, because that's the other specifically closing the gap on me. And yeah, I mean, you made a sick D. And I just remember thinking, I was like, man, 5 years later or whatever, he got it back. Like, good for him, because he almost died that first time.
there was a little bit of pride on the line there, but no. After the concussion, the main goal is now just to not get more of them.
Yeah, no, I honestly, like, from the sense of a karma in the universe, I was like, man, I obviously wanted to catch that, because if I catch that, it's a top 10 play the other way. But
right,
absolutely, like, I was like, man, if anyone's gonna get it, I want it to be Griffin, and yeah, he earned it, and I'm glad he got that one back, because it would have been rough, I know, to be 0 for 2 in a situation like that on hucks.
Buddy Abe Kaufman, Dallas quickly gets the score, and there is just a testament to so many guys.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I don't know why Jay got a free 6-yard pass to Abe. Seems like we should take them away.
Yeah, I don't know how Abe specifically just gets open all the time. Like, it looks like their Trenton spikes just kind of looked like he was trying to hold up a space, trusting the mark. But then since the reset came back, it just instantly was easy to open up. But I don't know. It'll be fun.
Okay, Luke, you put up a trivia question a little bit earlier.
Who played the most points on Atlanta? 44 out of 40, 41 out of 48. Ah, so close.
41 out of 48. Who played the most points? Matt, who do you think it was?
Man.
Oh, minutes.
Oh, minutes.
Yes, minutes.
I
can't read.
I was like, man, wait, 48 points. That does.
I know. I was like,
near side.
I'm gonna guess it's either Austin or Eli. Oh man, Avello saving me. That would be my guess, though. Is probably Austin or Eli. But we'll see.
Griff, you have any thoughts?
I don't even know who to guess. I was originally going to guess Eli because he seems to be the person we've been talking about a lot. And I'm trying to think of someone on Atlanta that also then bounces to D-line when necessary. But yeah. Actually,
yeah,
I might go with Zach Avello. I'll go with Avello. He's a good guy as well.
So, same look.
Okay, we will see.
Man, am I going to throw it away here? I feel like I might. No, not yet. Yeah, I see you're on me. Looks like forcing me out. Trying to get out. So let me do my little dance and then recover.
That's exactly it. It was trying to predict where the throw is going, and that just never works. The big thing, I was going to say this earlier, but I forgot because I lose my train of thought very easily. We talked about Eli, and it's really hard to get into his head. And I don't do any like trash talk or anything like that. That's just not my game. It's not the way I play. But what I do a lot is I just crack jokes the whole time. I'm the type of person that on the field will be like, you really don't have to run deep this point. Please don't. That's a lot of work for me, so don't do that for me. And Eli will, if I get a crack of a smile out of him or like even like a full smile, I've known that I've done well. I feel accomplished on the point, even then when he beats me to the open side cone. And I'm like, I thought we agreed on this. So I take pride in the fact that I don't need to trash talk. I don't need to get in your head. I just want you to acknowledge that I'm funny and not just funny looking.
Thus far, they haven't generate too many Ds from their D line.
I don't know, man. That feels a little strategic as well.
Right, exactly.
I'm not saying it's not a mind game. I'm just saying it's not intentionally a mind game.
What I'm curious what your experience is in terms of trash talk around the AUDL. Do y'all get into it much with the other teams, specifically with some or the other? I understand you don't want to call nobody out, but you know, whatever. This is why we're here.
Right.
Call them out.
So yeah, 100%. We definitely do. We kind of have a back. We have since 2016, but I can only speak as the past 2 years. And so a lot of people kind of like to hate us. And so that leads to a little bit of trash talk. And some people definitely fuel into the trash talk. You have the Dan Emmons, who is just a fiery, passionate individual, who's a phenomenal teammate, but also when you talk trash to him, he's going to talk trash right back. I've heard Jake Anderson was, when he played in 2016, one of the greatest trash talkers of our generation. Disappointed never got to hear that. But K-Rich will give it right back as well. Connor Olson, all the O-line guys will throw it right back to you if you start talking trash to them. On D-line, it's definitely there as well, especially with certain teams. There was lots of trash talk with New York and San Diego at Champ Weekend this past year, which was lots of fun. It was very different because, again, I really try to avoid trash talk because I don't like it. But when someone talks trash to me, I'm like, you're wasting your breath. I'm not even a good one. Like, go talk trash to someone else. But yeah, we definitely experience it quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm sure with the success y'all have had, you probably have a pretty big target on your back as far as like, yeah, I mean, y'all are good, y'all are physical, which I think is fine. I think it's a good thing. And but I know that that's bound to attract some words for sure.
Right. A lot of people don't like the physicality that we play, and we pride ourselves on that kind of physical, gritty defense. And we think that it really makes a lot of offensive strategic like moves more difficult, knowing that someone's going to be there the whole time. Again, right here, everything. Suds is right there behind you. We had marks on every person. It's forcing difficult throws and options. But a lot of people really don't like that extra physicality that we play. Especially with refs, it's a little bit easier to try getting away with a little bit more, knowing that it's not just someone throwing it. But we definitely enjoy the physical game.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I've always really respected that. Like the way y'all play. I don't know, I guess, you know, we play Saturn Ultimate, which has a reputation, I guess. But I mean, I also came from other sports where like there's a lot more physicality, and like y'all are really nice guys. Like honestly, I've played much more physical and much worse people at like pickup basketball all the time. Like this was not a problem. So I don't know. I've always enjoyed playing y'all. I don't talk a whole lot, but I like to play with a certain fire, and I feel like a lot of the Dallas guys, I can see that y'all have a similar chip on the shoulder and fiery attitude that I enjoy playing with and being a part of. So.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Again, the big thing was my first year on the team was 2018, and that was the first year removed from this whole superstar team that we'd been in 2016 and 2017, winning the championship and losing in semis. And so kind of walking into that team was really welcomed as we welcome, I mean, so many new rookies. I can't even put up the number. That would be a fun trivia for future weeks, Emi, if you're keeping notes of these. How many rookies were on the 2018 team? Because I bet there's a lot. But we had to really kind of redefine our culture going into that. And one of the big things is having these leaders like Dan Emmons, who's, I mean, again, prides himself on defense specifically, kind of sit us all down and say, this is what our focus was, and this is what our focus is still going to be, and we're just going to beat this even harder, because we're going to play even more physical, aggressive, really great defense, because we were playing in a high-powered division with the South. So we just know we had to do this. And so I was lucky to come in at that time and kind of like the passing of the torch to a new culture, new team, and really refocus the entire team culture on these types of things like physical, hard defense.
Yeah, no, y'all have done, I think, a really solid job of not allowing for that drop off when that superstar team kind of disbanded. In particular, I remember that 2016 team. Y'all were stacked. I mean, yeah, y'all were stacked. So I honestly, I thought y'all were going to have a lot bigger of a fall off when some of those guys left. And yeah, I don't know. Y'all have done a really good job of redefining your culture, but still maintaining, I guess, a bar of excellence you want to achieve. But yeah, I remember the 2016 playoff team, like when we played them in the playoffs and everybody got together, like, there weren't any absences. And yeah, it was like looking across the line and guys who are very, very strong players were, not getting reps or coming in on the second D line. Like it was kind of crazy to see.
Right. And we kind of felt like that was a lot of people were expecting us to drop off there. It's just part of the culture. And once you lose a Jimmy Mickle, a Dylan Freechild, Kurt and Chris, who are now coming back for this year, all of these big name players, I mean, you can only expect so much. But we were lucky that I think a lot of that comes to credit with also the passing of the torch to Wes Nimick as our coach. Because again, I want to ask you specifically about how Coach Knowles is for the hustle, because I know she's wildly respected in Ultimate as a whole. She's a genius with the game, but I want to know how all of that translates to, because she's super successful in the club scene, and I want to see how that is for you as a player, specifically as a leader on the hustle, setting the team culture and whatnot.
Yeah, she's obviously very well renowned in the Ultimate community. We always joke, it's kind of funny that like our most accomplished person is our coach, and relatively was probably better than all of us. So that's just kind of a funny thing to have overhanging on our team. But I would actually say, yeah, like I was a captain with her for Hustle and Chain, along with Christian Olsen, good buddy of mine, and we've seen a lot of time together, leading Ultimate in Atlanta. But so we had a really great working relationship with Miranda. I think her strength is building a culture and like making it a team and something fun to be a part of, which I think the hustle was always fun to be a part of, but the focus was probably a little more on, people just showing up and trying to ball out. And Miranda really made it more of a family and more of an inclusive feel. Perhaps too much when we did even lines, like but we all kind of look back and are like, maybe that was a good idea, maybe that wasn't. But in terms of like inclusiveness and people wanting to be at practice, people wanting to be a part of a team, she's unparalleled. And I think that was a good reason why Chain was able to come back to nationals after a few years out. Was a lot. It wasn't a huge surge in talent. Like we weren't way better than we were before. It was people wanting to be a part of the team, and people like wanting to come to practice, wanting to be a part of it, and everyone obviously respects Miranda, given how great she was previously in Ultimate and how great she is as a coach. It's been a real blessing for the Hustle franchise to have her.
So my experiences with her are very, very limited because, again, I played in the Bama Sec Select game in 2017, my senior year of college, which was a great experience. But as part of that was also we had a gender equity talk beforehand with the ladies from the Bama Sec Select women's team and the ladies from Ozone. I was drawing a blank. And kind of all sat together and talked about this. And her name was a constant bring up in terms of in those discussions. And so I've never had the pleasure of having her coach me or be on a team where she's been able to drive that culture. But from everything that I've heard in terms of stories and whatnot, she seems like one of the great leaders in the Atlanta culture as a whole.
Yeah, and I think her being well respected goes a long way to that. As far as, I think she had some ties. She's from the Atlanta area originally. I know she's most famous for, her career at Carlton and then over with Riot and maybe just Riot. I'm not sure if she bounced around, but like her coming back here, I think she commands a certain amount of respect. She's obviously got a lot of contacts at Paideia. She's a teacher there now. They have a long history of Ultimate. And yeah, I think one of the things that she's done well, like she'll tell you herself, like Miranda's kind of a jock, and I think that's fit in really well coaching an open team. Because I think before she'd done a lot of coaching at the high school level. She's the high school coach for the girls varsity team at Paideia, and they've won, the state championship, however long it's existed. But yeah, I think, coming over to an open team was an adjustment for her, and she's talked about that, but she's also done a great job with it. So I think she bridges the gap, and yeah, great coach. Hey, I did something.
Man. So this was a fun point for us specifically because Suds and I are both on this point. And so we had a whole discussion while walking on and on the line. Is like, okay, who's going to take him? Like, again, since we talked about it beforehand, we were like, okay, Suds was like, is he going to stay in the backfield? Because if so, then I'll take him. Is he going to push up field? Because if so, then Griffin, you can have him. It's just kind of like we have no idea. That's one of the the hard parts about getting to cover you is that you have no idea where you're going to line up or where you're going to play from or how you're going to react. So eventually, I think it came down to something like a rock, paper, scissors game, and he ended up winning. And so he was like, I guess I'll just take him. It's fine. So he took you, and then instantly you have this up line that's like, dang, that's not the quickness that Suds was really opening up with. That was like the speed that I would have opened up with. And woof, we just chose wrong. And you made this phenomenal layout in the corner and just slid forever.
Yeah, well, I appreciate y'all on that. Making the choice at least on that one got me a nice little highlight. I think I believe that I actually finished this game. Like, I personally play rather poor, statistically play rather poorly this game. So I was happy to make it out with a highlight. I also said I would tell this story about that highlight. So I have a layout spike celebration that I've been wanting to do for years. But I always forget about it. It's this kind of you slide. It needs to be a sliding layout in the end zone. And then it's I want to paddle into it like a wave and then pop up and just spike it. But Suds is too nice. If you can see on that play, he runs. I score on him and he just immediately runs up to me to help me off the ground. And I was thinking I can't. It's gonna look really awkward now with him just standing over me, and then I just get up and spike it in his face on something. There's no animosity there. But he got me, man. He's killing me with kindness. Is this the new Dallas team? Him and Griffin just trying to kill me with kindness in all these matchups. I don't know, man. It was a little disappointing. I didn't get my spike in, but maybe next year or this upcoming year, whenever the next one comes around.
So an exciting first half started a little later than normal.
The world needs to see this spike. That's absolutely for sure, though. That unquestionably.
Yeah, I might have built it up too much now, but I just remember this is one of the maybe 10% of the time I remember to do it, and then he just came over and ruined it with a big smile on his face, and
Wow, Suds, I know you're watching. That's just all your fault. You ruined a potential highlight spike as well.
Exactly.
Come on, man. I thought we were buds.
I thought we were friends. Do this for me.
Yeah, looking at this game, I was going to ask Griffin, what, if anything, did you all have for the halftime message? It's pretty low-scoring affair. It's been pretty ugly, honestly, in terms of there's been some sloppy points and some turns. What was the halftime message for y'all?
So first thing, Suds just texted me and said that you should have spiked it on him anyway. He would have understood it, which is just the epitome of he's taking one for the team. It's okay. But no, in terms of halftime messaging, O-line, I can't speak on behalf of because I'm not on O-line. But you can tell out of half, we have a couple O-line players or D-line players switching on to O, like David Hammer right over there, who now plays for the Soul. Shout-outs. We love you. But we kind of wanted to change it up a little bit, get a couple different looks, push, knowing when Austin had the disc to not allow him to huck it anymore. That means kind of trying to shift our marks or our defensive positioning to backing everyone, forcing unders, understanding that the way that he's throwing right now, or the way that he'd thrown in that first half, we really had to respect and make sure that we were taking it into consideration. But then also we were playing kind of lazy defense as a whole. We allowed a lot of unders because we were tired and we'd been trying to be warmed up for an hour and a half before the game started. It was late already. I mean, we started at 8:30 or 9, which is already late for us. So we really just tried to refocus ourselves to really make sure we're keeping the pressure dialed up on you, on the whole hustle team, knowing that this one more half, we felt like a 1-point game. We were lucky to come out with just being down by 1. But we needed to come back out with a lot of intensity and try to, I mean, we had to make up the ground. We don't take any of these games lightly. And you guys came and were giving it to us real early in the game.
There's Williams. It's leading.
Yeah, I think on our end, like one of the things about y'all, like we knew it was tough because we knew the pressure was coming, and we wanted, we always want to try and stay loose, but it's not unusual necessarily for us to be up 1 on y'all at some point in the game. Like I think one of the things that is honestly kind of frustrating is y'all are not the type of team to just like put your foot on the neck the entire game, every game. I believe like y'all, you shoot a lot. You sometimes let teams in the game, and the difference is that y'all have an ability in the fourth quarter and that second half to like really lock in and not mess up. And so from our end, it was like, okay, we're up 1, but like we know that they're going to make a push, and we know that this game has really just begun. Like, I think there was a point in there too where like Abe dropped a dump pass from like completely uncontested from like 3 yards away, and it's like that's not gonna happen in the second half. Like we can't rely on those kind of things to happen. Like we know they're gonna clean it up and really up the intensity in that second half.
Right. And I'm just going to make this PSA now that the South Division is done. The amount of disrespect that everyone had for like everyone in the South, because I feel like every time I read an article or people were talking about the South, it was like, oh, it's Raleigh and Dallas. It's Raleigh and Dallas. And so every time that there was a close game that was between Dallas and Atlanta or Dallas and Austin or something like that, everyone was like, this is game changing. Maybe Raleigh or Dallas aren't as good as we thought. Like, what's happening? Like, the whole South Division was loaded. Any team could have won in any game. It just happened to fall certain ways. Certain players made plays or whatever. I mean, our last ever matchup with Atlanta, you all beat us in Atlanta. It's just the amount of disrespect that happens towards Austin and Atlanta and Tampa is just bonkers to me, because there's never been a game that I've walked into, even Nashville while they were still part of our division, where I'm like, oh, this is an easy win or anything like that. Because you just can't. If you do, then you come out and you're flat and you just lose the game. It's just bonkers to me.
Absolutely. Honestly, us being in sort of that sort of like little brother position in the South, because it was always, like you said, that's like what all the analysis is Dallas, Raleigh, and as someone who's like I'd like to think pretty honest with myself, it was like, yeah, y'all's teams were better a lot, but that never changed the fact that I thought we could win the game. Right, like even like that particular game, I always felt like everybody had a chance. Yeah, so I agree. And then also, I was always like, I would read those articles and I'm like, y'all, we're not bad. Like Atlanta is pretty good, but it's just we've got 2 of the top 5 teams in the league in our division, and that's just how it is. Like that's that's sports. That's how it's put together. But no, absolutely, it was like, man, we're a lot better than people think, and I was glad we got to go up and play Indianapolis last year, and at least do work that one game, kind of represent the South a bit.
Right. Well, that's a great segue. How do you feel about your new Atlantic division? You don't get to see my smiling face twice a year anymore, which I know is heartbreaking. But
Yeah, I'll have to survive or meet up in Mobile or something. But I'm really excited for the new division. Honestly, I think it was the most exciting AUDL news for me personally since starting in the South Division. Mostly, I don't know the West. Honestly, I think y'all will probably do pretty well in the West, and I think the Central Division that we're now a part of, or the Atlantic that Atlanta is going to be pretty wild. I just think the gap between the teams is very small, and there's going to be a mystery, really. Like I don't know how good Philly is. I don't know how good Pittsburgh is. I don't think anyone really does, and that's part of the fun. So yeah, I'm kind of bummed, the season, whatever, is getting postponed or whatever comes of it, because I was really looking forward to the new divisions and essentially getting to play, interdivisional games coming up. So what about y'all? What was the talk around the team for joining the West?
it was excited. Again, it was sad. It was sad for me because I have a lot of friends on all these teams. Given I went to school in this area, so like I know a lot of the players on all of these teams. Raleigh, Atlanta, Tampa, they're friends of mine. But the person I told that to originally was Gabe Hernandez, and he said, "Well, now I'm going to all of my friends in California, so suck it up." And I was like, "Okay, that's fair." But it was really exciting. We played San Diego in the semis last year and had a really good game against them. It ended up being a 5-point game, but it was much more of a 2-point game the whole time. Playing Seattle in the 16 championship game means we have a little bit of history there. And LA, we played in the interdivisional game last year, 2 years ago, excuse me. So we had a little bit of experience with all of those teams, and we're excited to see it, with the exception of Spiders. We're excited. We were really excited to play them, but it was kind of this mystery of we don't really know what to do anymore. Since we've been playing in the South for so long, we kind of had a general idea of Atlanta's general game style. The way Raleigh likes to play, the way all these teams get to the way they use their players. And now we kind of don't. We have the experience with club, but those don't always translate the same. So it was a lot of excitement, especially on a D-line kind of point of view. Getting to cover Khalif, go against Goose again, which is always fun. We like playing against Goose. Get to go against McDougal, all the great West Coast players. We were really excited for it, and so we're still optimistic for it. But I think it's gonna be exciting. Hopefully, we can show them a little bit of Southern hospitality.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm having to play against y'all for all those years. I'm hoping y'all go out there and do well, represent our old division well.
Big hammer is completed. Disc on the near sideline.
Man, it's game. All of a sudden, it's like I look up and we're down one.
Right, you were up 10-8, and then we just held and rattled off 2 breaks in a row. And Ben Rogers. Ben Rogers.
It's a nice D.
It's a nice D. I know. And what was crazy is that Daniel Sperling just roofed Ben 2 points earlier, going the same direction, same trap sideline. It was a cross-field hammer. And Ben is a good player. He's really young. He's still learning how to throw a flick. But overall, the fact that he just he got roofed, he came off really upset. I'm like, hey, just get it next point. And then he gets that layout D. I'm like, God, it must be nice being young. Like, just to be able to bounce back that quickly.
What are you at these days, Griffin? What are you, like, 25?
25.
Yeah.
But when you consider the concussion, like trying to headbutt a rock while covering you, that brings me back a couple more years as well.
Yeah. Next time you should probably just let me have it. I think that was the message from the gods, the Frisbee gods.
Yeah, next time. Again, it was well, that's what I love about this sport so much, is that like these players that are, again, you were a much bigger deal than I was. Great integrity, Chris Larber. Credit to you.
It was good integrity.
Yeah, it's just physical. But again, that's what I love so much about this sport, is that like you were a big name player coming to hang out with one of your friends at a tournament just to have fun. And I got to, as this D3 player that doesn't get to play against a whole lot of high talent players. I mean, there are definitely a lot of them, but it's not the same level as a D1. I get to play and cover someone that is, I think that year was like you were an AUDL All-Star as well. You were on the AUDL first team. So it was fun for me as a much smaller name player to get to cover you.
Yeah, no, that's cool for me to hear.
Don't really
honestly.
see that with you, of course.
I try. I don't know if y'all are on the ultimate Twitter, but you know it's been ablaze recently, and with sort of like culture of elite ultimate, and I do feel like I feel like in general the elite community could probably do a little more to get involved with players that are not maybe as talented on the field, but like still bring a lot to the game of ultimate, and I think that sometimes gets lost. And I don't blame it all on the higher level players in the sense that, to play at this level now, it takes a lot of time. And I know in Atlanta, you're expected to be working out multiple days. People have their real jobs. Like, it's tough to then make time to go to pickup or go to summer league or do some of the other things to get involved. But, whenever I have the opportunity to, I think it's always good to get back in that community and just play as much fun ultimate as you can. Maybe it's that D3 mentality, like I don't know what it was like at Spring Hill, but it was not about the Frisbee, it was about hanging out and like making friends and, just being with good people. So it's always something I try and do. And I'm glad we got to meet up.
Yeah, me too. Well, that's exactly it, and that's what's so special to me about it, and that's kind of the way that I kind of approach it with like youth ultimate involvement and trying to give back as much as I can, is that even though I'm very quick to say that I'm not a big name player in any way for ultimate, I've been lucky enough to play on the Roughnecks, I'm lucky enough to play on double wide, and I love the relationships that I form, but to some of these kids, like Hope kids and whatnot, I am a much bigger player than the reality of the situation. So the fact that I could have these experiences with these kids at, a summer league or whatnot, is why I really enjoy getting to participate in these youth clinics, like Girl Scout clinics or whatnot that the Roughnecks are participating in. Hope kids, obviously, but love it.
I won't let this go. I've got some thoughts on that, but you made a sick D. We gotta acknowledge it. You did the Eli Jaime, the sick D into the sprint the other way.
Sprint the other way, exactly. I had to take something from him. But no, again, Avelo's a great player, but I was baiting that throw the whole time. I wanted that throw 2 points prior, and Draco pumped it because he saw me and didn't end up throwing it, and I was like, dang, like that's what I want 2 points earlier, but then this time it got released, and I was like, yes, this is exactly what I want. I've covered Avelo when he played on Nashville. I knew the line that he was going to take on it, and I felt really comfortable with the fact that I'm going to get a chance to make a play on this here once it comes back over to this direction. And it gets put up right over that front cone, and I feel very confident once that goes up that I can make a good play on it.
Yeah, I'm sure you find this to some degree, but people, I think in the AUDL, it's a lot about playing to whatever your superpower is. And, yours is clearly the makeup speed and just flat out speed. And I think it makes a lot of sense to play defense in that way. The more you can, I try and do this on offense, and I'm sure you try and do it on defense, the more you can pit your superpower against somebody else's weakness, the more successful you're going to be. And the more times you can like apply whatever your superpower is, you're just going to be more and more effective. And you did it twice there. You got the D and then took off deep, and that's applying what your superpower is very effectively.
Right. And I did not think Gabe was going to throw that. Draco was at the back of the stack and peeled off, and I was like, okay, like there's space, but he's going to have to really put this far out. And he did, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I have to go get this now.
last year. I believe
It was a fun time.
The you and Draco matchup is pretty hilarious, honestly, given the similarities. He is also very fast over, over distance. I think like watching y'all both run with the blonde hair going is, it's good fun.
Hat on, flag in hand on field.
It's
But,
real fun.
actually-
The amount of times that you go.
I think we've seen in the game so far.
Okay, I was actually gonna just jump back to what you were talking about with the Hope Kids, and you're saying that, or just any of the clinics you do, and you're talking about how like I'm not a big name player, but like to these kids I am. And what I always tell the hustle guys every year for the youth stuff, when I try and encourage them to volunteer, I'm like, look, y'all, like they don't know how not cool you are. Like to them, you're awesome. I'm your teammate. I know, like I know that you're just some dude, like you're just some dude throwing a disc like we all are. But the kids don't, like to them, it is like a huge deal to be able to like interact with these people that they see on a field or that they see on YouTube or, whatever it is. And so, or they see, a lot of times they don't even care, right? Like they don't know I'm an AUDL All-Star. They don't care, like whatever, but they know I can throw a flick and like they think that's cool. And so I just always encourage people to, like our team to go out and be like, look, you don't think of yourself as cool and you probably shouldn't, but these kids do. And it means a lot to them for you to just make an appearance. One of the most rewarding things for me over the last couple years, I am now 31, is seeing some of the kids that I've either, coached or went to a clinic, and they're now getting to the age where they're like legitimately making it in the AUDL and like legitimately playing on high-level club teams. And that's a new experience for me and has been pretty fun, pretty fulfilling. Specifically, we have a HOPS program that involves getting Atlanta players to local high school like practices basically. And I drove like an hour out to the first one just to make it happen, way out. And literally the captain of this team, he was like a junior in high school, and he made the hustle this year. After this was like 4 years ago or something like that. But, we've been in contact and he's always reached out to me, and like he legitimately made the team all on his own. I didn't do any favors for him. And it was awesome to just like see that come to fruition. Now the glass is broken because now he knows I'm not cool either. But like at the time, it had an impact on him, and it's cool to have seen that played out into the start of his career.
3 or 4 throw score, it could be like 10 seconds.
That's awesome.
That zone did slow them down to some degree.
I'm more bummed for him about the Corona thing. I've been in whatever 80 games. I obviously would prefer to be playing, but it's not the end of the world that it's not. But this was this kid's chance, this was his rookie season, like there to make some plays, and I hope for his sake, we're able to have a season.
Right.
These discs coming out a little bit unclean for some of Atlanta's throws for these strike.
Man, Atlanta got real sloppy real quick. I don't know what happened.
Well, can you talk about like how the momentum or the energy changed on the team there? Because again, you were up 10-8, and now it's 11-14 with a minute left in the third, so it's almost to the fourth. Like how do you maintain energy and momentum on your team?
Well, I wish we had a better answer, because we didn't at this time, but. That was actually hilarious. Whoever did it, I remember I was on the mark and they hucked it into their own teammate, which was great. Here it is.
That's Kaplan. Kaplan.
Oh, man.
Into Dan, maybe.
Yeah, it was
I thought it was.
I think for us, like one of the problems and what can happen is we got lulled. it wasn't a huge play that was a turning point. It wasn't, at least I don't remember it that way. It wasn't, somebody getting a huge layout on your team or something like that. It just, little turn here, little turn there. You lose a point here, and then all of a sudden you look and, it's not where you want to be. So I think that was our problem. It was getting lulled. It wasn't that we, gave up some huge play that just killed us. It just weren't clean with the disc.
And Atlanta gets enough of a block. Clock is
That's fair.
40 seconds
I mean,
counting.
I'll be interested to
and
see.
Honestly, this is a. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna tease. I mean, we know what happens at the end of the third quarter here, for Dallas. So kind of see how once again, maybe how that would be like a big play that kind of sucks the air out a little bit more of as a defense or as a team. Here we get to see a rare occurrence of handler Griffin Miller for the last 15 seconds of a quarter. Look at the space that I'm creating for Dylan to throw to, and he throws a hammer.
Oh man, I feel bad for player on this one. He's our deep, and then he realizes it's too late. It's a brutal run. But I think maybe this is one of you can give me your opinion on this, but I think one of the biggest differences between AUDL and USAU play is the importance of end of quarters. I don't know who threw it there. I'm not going to call him out, but whoever on our team threw a huck at 14 seconds left in the third quarter, that's must have just had a lapse in judgment, because that's not a good decision. Specifically for this reason. The throwers in this league are able to get it pretty far pretty quickly, and now it can be kind of an extra break if you get it before the end of a quarter, and that's a tough one. That's like a 2-point swing. Even if we had held on to it and got stalled out and not done anything, it probably would have resulted better for us. So how is clock management function into your strategy much, or do y'all just kind of go out and play? What's that look like from your end?
After 3 quarters of play, Dallas leads.
Well, it definitely functions into our strategy. It's crazy. The Roughnecks are all too familiar with buzzer beaters and playoffs and whatnot. You think about the past 2 championship games, third quarter buzzer beaters, both against us. Madison with the tipped KPS save and CPR, and New York with the Jeff Babbitt just being a monster. And then if you also think even more into it, and this is just me venting about all the pain that I've been through the past couple of years, semifinal against San Diego, they have this Okita, I think, throws this beautiful dime to Travis Dunn. I think Travis Dunn, past laying out eBay. Yeah, it is a huge component of this game that is just non-existent in USAU. For better or for worse, we benefit from it here, but we then get it right back to us in games that are were very important to. It's really, really difficult because there's 2 real ways to play the buzzer beater situations, at least in my experience. Is you have the teams like Raleigh does, where you put your really tall guys on and they just go, and it's a huck and you're hoping it floats, and then Misha comes down with it because he's a monster in the air, right? Or a Jeff Babbitt. Or you play like San Diego does this really, really well, is they run a dominator set and move the disc really, really quickly to make the throw a shorter throw to then hit the open space, because on an AUDL field you can't cover everywhere. So it's really interesting because it's hard to set lines and figure out how to strategically play defense on it when you don't know how the other team is going to be approaching the end of the quarter situation. It's almost like if it's anything over 5 seconds, they're going to try working it as much as possible before they take this shot. But if it's anything less, then you can kind of put the big guys on and hope that they can come up with the D.
Who did you guard on New York?
half of the third.
So New York, originally I was Matt Stevens, but he did not play for, I believe, an injury reason. So I covered Conor Clyne, who is 6'2" and a track star. So that was fun. Yeah, he scored on me twice, which was not the best game. But then again, I didn't have a whole lot of time to watch film and prepare for him, which was upsetting. I spent all week watching a lot of New York games, watching how Matt Stevens plays. Felt really confident going into Saturday, and then we saw that Matt wasn't playing, and I was then kind of put on alert to then, hey, you're going to be covering someone different tomorrow if we do get to play. If we do get to play New York, this is a crazy play.
Yeah.
It's
You
so
make
crazy.
a phenomenal.
Well, I
Right.
also make my stupidest throw of the season to turn it over that I'm like upset right now
Yes.
looking at it.
We had
And then I almost got a
the,
D, and
camera
somehow that
angle.
dude caught it.
Yes,
Right.
right. Because
Well,
you'll
you
see
make
that at
the-
the other angle. If you go like this,
the Atlanta
straight in.
defense also flying to get there.
Yeah, it's
As a defender, I have
thing.
so much respect for it because, like, you recognize where the cut's coming from. You recognize the throw that's going to be being made. Like, you poach from your player to go to the space, and you make a great play, like, against a much bigger individual, right? Taking away his spot, taking away the angle, like, doing everything you can. And then just to have it fall in his lap, literally, is hysterical.
Yeah, I'm sure you know, man. You play long enough, you win some, you lose some. But I find as an offensive player, like, man, when I turn it over, when I'm the one who turned it, like my defensive intensity is then like through the roof because I've traditionally played a very like conservative high efficiency game, so like throwing it away, like just it just in my soul, it kind of gets to me.
Lewis ended up sliding with his
That's
lap
fair.
pointed up, and the disc bouncing on Smith's hat and head.
But anyway,
just
back
sailed
to
down Lewis's
New
lap, and
York.
just ended up being a free catch that
Yeah, so I covered Conor Clyne. He was a real nice guy. Again, I was cracking jokes with him. I had fun. That's the moral of the story. But he's a good guy, real nice. He's yeah. I never felt shorter standing next to a 6'2" guy than I did then. I think he's lying about his height, and it made me feel bad.
One-on-one matchup.
Yeah, Matt Stevens and I, we worked together for the New York camp. We have a good relationship. And then I feel like at some point, you're like, yeah, I didn't realize, but he's like I think he's 4th all time in AUDL goals. Yeah, top 5 goal scorer in league history. So I've got a lot of respect for anybody, honestly, that puts up that many goals. Like, that's hard. So kudos to him, and shout out for them putting on a great camp over this past summer. Yeah, it was like he was really instrumental in making that happen, and you know, is obviously also a very strong force on the field.
Right. It was real fun to watch on film and try to figure out couple habits and whatnot. Because the year before I covered Gibran Meeser, who again is just explosive, really good player, but he got moved to D-line. And then once Jay got hurt in the finals, I got to cover Grant Lindsley, which was again one of those like ultimate hero or like role models, like covering by me, like kind of moments where it's like I've watched you play on like Revolver and the year before and all this, like, so now I get to actually cover you. That's really fun. And I will just throw this out there. I think Grant Lindsley has the most explosive first 2 steps I've seen in the AUDL. The way that he can just really quickly get to 100% is just insane.
Damn, man, I was gonna ask if he's faster than me, but I guess that's the answer right there. But
if I were to put it in a foot race,
with him.
He's a real nice guy. I think you have a better top speed than him. I think you beat him in a foot race of end zone line to end zone line. But I think if it's a 40 or if something along those lines, those first 3 steps are insane. And it's also just the way that he approaches it. The way that he, like, his whole body commits to even just like a half cut. The way that every fiber in your being really believes that, like, he's going to be making it deep now, or he's made 3 cuts already, so he's going to be coming under. He plays it so smart, and his explosiveness just really makes it difficult as it's reacting to it, because he's going to turn on a dime 3 or 4 times. So yeah, it was really fun to match up against him, but he's really, really quick on those first couple steps, and it's hard to make up those steps once you get behind.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've never actually played him. I don't think. We just like never crossed paths. Even at we were at World's Trials together a little while ago. Didn't get a chance to match up, but I've always been curious because I know he's another quick dude, quick elite player. So.
Okay, we have the other angle of that crazy almost D that Ben Lewis ended up catching. I feel like the world just sort of needs to see that close up. Luke, can you roll that? And it just the awareness, Matt, that you have to.
Yes, the sideline.
I mean,
what?
How?
But the crazy thing is, like, I'm not that surprised because it's eBay. eBay has made plays like that. Like, he made one at Club Nationals against Raleigh Ring of Fire. Like, this almost the same. Like, someone took his space away, like a great defensive play. He's not going to plow through you. So he then, like, tries making a play, gets tipped up somewhere, and he's rolling and catches it again. Like, it's just eBay having his eye on the disc at all times. It's just awesome.
Yeah, well, he must have something because that was ridiculous. But I am glad he didn't truck me. That was nice of him. I also tried to avoid stepping on him as he fell in front of me. So I feel like we were even on that one. But yeah, like I said, you win some, you lose some, and yeah, he got that one.
But you also don't want to just like run the game up and then burn out a bunch of guys or like end up with an injury because you're playing.
So a while ago, we got a question from the crowd, and I think it's a good time to answer it. With all the craziness happening, what are you, Matt, doing to stay busy without Ultimate and travel? Like, what else? What other hobbies are you taking part of, or what are you doing to stay in shape for when the season comes back?
And a tip.
Yeah. So also that was a great Dan Emmons play.
And then
pretty
the
sloppy
foot block.
sequence back and forth. Yeah, then a foot block.
3 Atlanta players go up for it.
Yeah, as far as what I'm doing, so there's still some AUDL initiatives going on, even though we're not playing. So I work as a contractor for the league on youth and player relations issues, and honestly, I feel like sort of a miscellaneous guy that'll help out in terms of administration for the league. So some of that stuff is still going on. There's a new AUDL ambassador program. We have our youth coordinator positions which Griffin is a part of for the Dallas Roughnecks. So work has slowed down, but I'm trying to stay busy there. And then I feel like I'm probably doing what everybody else is doing, watching TV shows, listening to podcasts. I feel like I'm working out a fair amount, not even for Ultimate, but like kind of for boredom too. Like I've got every day, like I'm going to be in Atlanta in my house. So at some point I try and get to the park and do a workout. Again, my wife is in better shape than me and like really beats me up out there and gets me to work out. So yeah, I feel like I've probably been living like a pretty average, pretty domesticated life, walking my dogs, doing whatever. I hope we get to play this season in any format. I will be ready to go. I feel like physically it's been nice, honestly, to have a little bit of a break, but I'm ready to get back into it. But how about yourself over there in Dallas? What are you doing to stay busy?
I mean, just about the same. I think everybody who's hoping for the season to start is kind of in that same boat of just trying to stay in the best shape possible. We're almost getting to 100 degrees already, which is kind of crazy. Trying to do some runs in that heat is just really preparing for whenever the season comes back. God, Abe is so good. I'll talk about that afterwards. But I've just been working a lot, working out, trying to have fun with it, because it's real hard to like continually work out and like push yourself when you're just doing something for an activity that you don't necessarily know when it's going to begin. So been making some games, doing some fun things, trying to throw a disc and work on things that I may not have had the time to work on beforehand. Like I'm not the best thrower, but I'm trying to get better because I know I'm a liability. But just trying to do all that and balance that with work because, again, moving an entire school online has been really fun. But we're making it work, having fun with it.
Right, and the thing is, it's only a 4-point game right now. There's 5 minutes left to play.
Yeah, that last, like you were saying, that Abe throw was a dime. I'll give a shout out to Carson Wilder has really grown on me. Watching his game as a player, he really won me over with that little like no look thing. His little like no look flip to Abe like a little while ago. But yeah, I've enjoyed watching him. It seemed, kind of break out a little bit as a player. I like his game. I know he's got a basketball background, and we do some work together for the AUDL. So I'm always really impressed with his game, and now that he's not in my division anymore, whatever, I hope he does well.
I'll give lots of credit to Carson. He's one of the most fun-loving and energetic guys you can meet, even in the heat of the game. Very religious individual, and really like handles himself with like utmost like respect for everyone around him. And so it's really hard once you start talking to him to not like him, just because of the type of personality that he has. I love Carson. I love a lot of the players on this team. You just toasted me though. Just beat me.
And then I dropped it.
Then you dropped it, which I'll take credit for, but no, you just blew by me, and I just wasn't even ready.
Dude, see, this is what I think, man. I think it's head games. I think you just like let me go, and then I dropped it. And, like you're just being too nice. Like it's getting to me, man.
That's what it is. If only other people were dropping it as easily the same way. Instead, I have people like Terrence putting me on AUDL top 10s. Yeah, I love Terrence. Terrence is such a great guy. He's so nice as well, which is why it's so frustrating that there's like that span of like a month where every time that AUDL posted something, it was a picture of Terrence beating me. And really, he beat me twice, all right? Twice. That's it. One was with 4 seconds left. 4 seconds left in a 5-point game. So I didn't think he was going deep, and that's my mistake. I should have played to the whistle. That's my fault. I'll take credit for that one. And the second one, he just roofed me bad. I'll take full credit for that one. He just has springs. But
dude,
again,
you can't let that dude jump off 1 foot.
Oh my god!
You can't let that dude jump off of 1 foot, man. If you try and jump with him, I tell our team that every time. I'm like, yo, if you try and jump with him, that's how you end up on a poster. Like, you're better off just bumping him and hope they don't call the foul and go from there. Because when you let him go into that 1-2 off the left leg going up, I mean, you might as well just smile for the picture.
I've noticed. My big thing is I just try to really make him jump uncomfortably, put a little bit of body on him because he's so fast that the big thing for me is like it's so hard to keep up with him while he does that. And he's so good at jumping off while in stride that is really difficult to like try putting your body in front of him. But if you can get your body in front of him and force him to jump up kind of uncomfortably, you have a shot. And again, he beat me twice. That's it.
It can look at the same time. It didn't feel like there was much of a.
They got a
3
lot of
matchups,
mileage.
2
out of
Crazy points
those.
end up being.
They got a lot of
So
mileage out of it.
where you know everybody's working as hard.
Again, we've covered each other, or I've covered him for 2 years now, and he's beat me twice, or 3 times. One of the time was a layout that I just went a little too low on. I'm really disappointed about that one too. But 3 times in 2 years against one of the biggest highlight machines in the AUDL, I'm taking that ratio every day of the year. Like, no argument here. And the best part is, I'll be the first one to give him a high five and a hug afterwards and make him laugh for making me look bad. He's just a good guy. Shout outs to him. Again, this is why I'm bummed about changing divisions, because I have all these friendships with these people that are beating me all the time. And it's just a lot of fun for me. You know, I get to laugh with them and enjoy the sport with everyone.
Too far out. Looks like that lefty.
I don't know. I think Raleigh isn't too terribly upset about divisions changing. So doesn't seem like it.
I'm going to choose to believe that they're going to miss me, though. They may not miss the Roughnecks. They may not miss, you know, Austin Soul, but they're going to miss me, Griffin Miller, the friend of the Raleigh Flyers. It's actually really fun. Okay, I'll jump in.
I was gonna say, looking at this game, with a minute 28 left, we haven't been doing it, but like one of the things you talked about with the clock was like, if we're being honest, this game's already done. I mean, not that should be any excuse to stop trying, but a 4-goal lead in the AUDL, like I think teams generally underestimate the amount of time it takes to get back into a game. So, like, yeah, even with like, if we're down 4, that probably means that at like 5 or 6 minutes left, like we should be trying to score quickly the first few to kind of get back into it. Because at this point, like, you know, you're just not going to make up those kinds of points in the amount of time you have left. I think we often underestimate the value of the clock here.
Right. Well, I still remember as a D-line, like, when you're on the field, you don't look at the clock, really, especially on defense. I know on offense you have to be aware of that, but defensively specific, you're playing who you're playing the whole time, and you don't have to worry about that. And even as a sideline support, you're just trying to really help put your team in the best situation to not let them score. But I do remember after this point, because I believe this isn't the last point of the game, but I remember exhaling pretty heavily after this point, realizing that, okay, you know, we don't have to worry as much about it anymore.
Yeah, there are some benefits, I feel like, to playing D-line, but I gotta say, I got a lot of respect for you D-line players. It's not an easy world out there. That AUDL field is large. The highlights are offensively skewed. It's a tough world. I learned that my first year. I'll give this dude a shout out. Chip Cobb was on the Rhode Island Rampage, and he played excellent defense. He really did. And what that translated to was being on the wrong end of probably like 15 highlights that first season. It was so rough, man. I felt so bad for him because he was a really good defender, but that's what good defense means, you know? Like, good defense means being close a lot of the time and then making the play every now and then. And, like, even if you're an amazing defender, that percentage is probably still fairly low if you're playing at a high level. So respect to you D-line guys and to you personally for taking the bullet for us offensive guys, me and Terrence. We appreciate that.
You know, it's what I do. I make a joke with everyone, specifically like Melissa Battis, our stat keeper, who also like manages a lot of our social media with Emi. Like, my goal going into every game is just to not be put on a poster or not be AUDL advertising material, because I know I'm D-line, so if I'm AUDL advertising material, that means it's going against me. That's not good. We don't want that.
Right.
But sadly, I got the wrong end of that against Terrence in the wasn't even the South Championship game. It was the second to last regular season game. But it happens. I take what I can get.
They'll win 18-15.
So that is the final of the game. All right, let's say hello to Sergeant Pepper. He wanted to join the live stream. Matt, this would be a good time to have your pupsters make an appearance if they're around too. But
let's see if they'll come, and I'll tell my wife to bring them in. If they make it.
so that you were talking about after this game, you guys had to really make a beeline down to Austin because you had a game against the Soul the next day. But you stopped in Waco, which is halfway between Austin and Dallas, and you were just so close. If it were not for a rain delay, you might have had some more fun in your life, right?
Yeah, so two things that happened after this game that I thought were like interesting was one, I met first what I believe is probably like I just met the most random fan from the Dallas area. He came up to Christian Olsen and myself after the game, very polite, cool guy. He was like, "Hey, y'all played an excellent game. Would you be willing to sign?" He had the AUDL magazine, and so he'd like looked us up. And he's like, "Would you be willing to sign the magazine?" I'm like, "Of course." It's ridiculous that anyone wants my autograph, so like, of course I'll sign it. And I asked him how he heard of things, and he was like, "Oh, I found a Roughneck sweatshirt in a thrift shop." He said, "I found a Roughneck sweatshirt in a local thrift shop, and then I looked them up, and I saw they had a game, and so here I am. This is like my first game, and you and Christian are the captains of the other team, so like I just wanted to come say hi and get your autograph." And I was like, I was so appreciative, but I was like, wow, like this is the pros. Like this is like we actually gained like a legitimate fan who had never heard of Ultimate and found a Roughnecks sweatshirt at a thrift shop. It was incredible.
Whoever you are that donated your sweatshirt, wow, thanks a lot. But also like, wow, thanks a lot. That is so wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah,
Matt, you said that was the first crazy story. What was the second?
This one isn't crazy. This is just sad, but this is about Waco. There is actually a one of, I believe, only like two in the U.S., but there's a like a man-made wave park, which gives people the chance, to hop on some waves, which I am always trying to do if I can find an opportunity. And but we had a game at Austin the next day, and we just drove by Waco in the middle of the night, and I just remember like looking out on the freeway, and I looked on the GPS, and we were within a mile. It's like right off the freeway, and like just longingly at like 12:30 a.m. like we're after this loss. I'm stuck on a bus. I was trying to like think of ways. I was like, well, what if we stay in Waco and then we'll just go super early and then we'll get to the game. But there was no way it was going to happen. But one of these days, even though you are not in the division anymore, I'm going to get there. And I'm gonna try and get in on that park, but it was a tough night in the van to be so close, especially after a loss. But hey, like I said, you win some, you lose some in the AUDL. Didn't win that one, but we went on to win against Austin. We got some good highlights there. That was a revenge game for us. So I'm gonna miss the Texas two-step. I really am. So good luck to all you West Coast bros having to fly out and play in 100 degrees 2 days in a row against two very good teams. I do not envy not having to do that anymore. So.
Exactly. So if anybody has any final questions for Matt and Griffin, go ahead and throw those in the chat. But before that, while people are kind of thinking if there's anything like that left, we have been asking every week on the Rewind, what was that moment in your Ultimate, life that Ultimate became more than a hobby and more into kind of a lifestyle or a lifelong passion? So Griffin, we'll start with you first on what was that point for you?
Yeah, happy to start. Give Matt a little bit more time to think. So for me, the big moment was, again, Spring Hill College, when that team became more than just an extracurricular or a team or competition, whatever it was. The people that I was on the team with really became like a family. We still talk. We're still a really tight-knit community, and that's been extended to more than just Spring Hill. That's been extended to now Dallas and Austin playing with double wide. Some of the Atlanta guys, good friends with Carter Ray, who is now in Indianapolis for the Alley Cats. That kind of community really kind of brought me into Ultimate as no longer just being a hobby, but being something that I wanted to do for a lot longer. And I've been lucky enough to do for a lot longer.
That's awesome. So, Matt, what about you? What was that moment for you?
I think if we're thinking of like one particular moment, like as far as my freshman year, it was the first time I'd like played Ultimate. I remember my first Sky. So I remember the first poster and going up and being like, ooh, I could get used to this. But I think the real kind of transition where it became more than just another sport I was playing, kind of like Griffin talked about, I don't think it's coincidence that D3 culture that we had at Colby College. My senior year, same thing. Like all my friends were on the team. Like it was a great, great team, great time. But it was the many little moments, I would say, over my senior year where I chose to prioritize Ultimate over my schooling. I think my parents are watching this stream, so sorry. I would guess they already knew that. But yeah, I think at some point I realized I was either making a really bad decision, but it was something I wanted to do in the sense that I still, I graduated, I had fine grades, all that. But my senior year, I really spent way more time building a team, scheduling practices, doing all the little stuff. So at the end of the year, I think I realized I was like, oh man, I really dedicated that year more to Ultimate than to my major or to the job hunt post-college. And so I would say end of senior year at graduation when I realized that I had dedicated my entire senior year to Ultimate and not to getting a job afterwards was that moment for me.
Hey, and it seems like you turned out pretty all right. So I think it worked out. Stephen Naji, he's the coach of the Soul this year, longtime player. He asked, Matt, tell us a crazy story from year one with the Rampage.
Yeah, sure. Crazy story number one was getting to the opening game. We showed up 10 minutes before the game because I forget who all was in the car, but one of our teammates had gotten into a car accident, and we randomly spotted them on the highway heading down from Boston. We were going from Boston to Rhode Island, and that was, I feel like in a lot of ways that was fitting to be my first AUDL game. I think if you want to succeed in the AUDL, it's a semi-pro sport, it's a pro sport. Like, you got to be ready for stuff to happen. And like, that was absolutely it. We got hit with a traffic jam. We were going to be late to our game. We look on the side of the side of the road at an accident, and it's literally one of our teammates, like, waiting for a ride to the first semi-pro Ultimate game of time. And so I thought that was just really fitting that, like, the AUDL has come such a long way. Look at us now. We're on live streams. Professional. We've got, professional quality media, Griffin Miller in the house. Like, it's just a lot different than it was at the start when it was four of us squeezing a 5 and 6 into the back of a car to get down to Rhode Island to play this game. So there's some other ones along the lines, but I'll just start with that. It started right away. Right away, we were in a crazy environment.
I think that is such a perfect fitting story, and we hope that the season is able to happen in some form or fashion. But thank you both so much for really giving great insight, and I think a lot into D3 culture too, that I think D3 overall could probably get a little more love in the Ultimate community, and hearing about, those, the background. And then also just thank you for everything that you're doing to help outreach. So not only the youth and Hope Kids, but folks in underrepresented communities as well. I think there's a lot of work to be done there also. But for now, any final thoughts before we sign off? Griffin, we'll go with you first, and then Matt.
Yeah, I'd be in trouble if I didn't say Happy Mother's Day to all the moms watching. Shout outs to my mom, who is the best out there, but also Mama Walker, who is the team mom. We love you very much, and hope everyone has a phenomenal Mother's Day. But overall, I mean, this was a great experience. I love getting to talk to Matt. He's a friend of mine from, obviously, when he gave me a concussion from beating me so bad. But nonetheless, it's been tons of fun. I love reliving these moments and getting to have Matt here to talk about all the extra great work that he's doing for the AUDL and Youth Ultimate as a whole in Atlanta and across the nation with a lot of other teams. Just been a great experience. So thank you for having me on. I'm really gracious for it. And yeah, looking forward to next time we get to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Matt?
Thank you, Griffin, for reminding me. Happy Mother's Day. I have talked to my mom. I'll talk to her again tomorrow. Hi, Mom, if you're watching. I just want to end with a sense of positivity and gratitude on my end. Like I said, being around from the first game, that first season, this is a really validating experience for me. And a lot of the developments that are happening around the league are really validating. This was not a reality when this league started. Youth work was not a reality when this league started. And I think we're making some really great strides. I appreciate the Dallas Roughnecks on a number of levels, both institutionally, like y'all do a lot of work on the youth side of things. I work a lot with y'all behind the scenes. So yeah, really thank you for continuing to validate the league, continuing to validate this sport. And I look forward to all of us moving it forward in the future.
Definitely. Well, yes, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And y'all just have a great night. We'll see you next time.
Peace, everyone.
Bye, y'all.